Yo guys, what's going on? This is Yoki Man here and welcome back to another episode of Bringing Back Bolton. There's one thing we're going to have to address first and it makes me extremely sad. I'm sure you can all imagine how upset I'm going to be at this news. I'm just going to show you it's devastating for Bolton and the fan base. For everyone involved in Bolton, this is a sad, sad moment. That's right guys, Ryan Edmondson has agreed terms with FC Porto. I wanted him to wait until the end of the season so that I could negotiate a contract with him. He didn't want to wait until the end of the season. There's nothing I can do about that. I can't approach him because he was at an English club and foreign teams could. He's signed for Porto. Now, does that mean the end of Ryan Edmondson at Bolton? No, it does not. I'm going to try and loan him from Porto now next season. We're going to see if we could do that. I have no idea because what we've got to remember is my entire strike force it's loaned. And as much as the strike force has been unbelievable this season, brilliant, 22 appearances, 11 goals, 4 assists, he's had a great time. And the thing is Ryan Edmondson scored some huge impact goals, which is just mega important to me as he's my love child. I want him back. I want Ryan Edmondson back. I'll do anything to have you. I'll do anything for you, Ryan. I'll do anything to get Ryan back. But if we're being honest, I mean, Porto are getting themselves an unbelievable striker, which I hope they don't want anymore, and we can sign him on loan. But we'll see what happens. The 22-year-old, though, did have a pretty decent season for us. I genuinely am absolutely devastated that we're losing Ryan. Every time I think about it, it just brings me to tears. So we're going to move away from this now. And we're going to move on to where we finished this season with Bolton. We did finish in 8th position, but on the last game of the season, playing against Watford, we could have actually achieved 6th and we could have got playoffs. It wasn't to be. I'm quite happy. We all know I'm a Leeds fan. Playoffs don't work for me. They never will work for me or Leeds. Thank God we got automatic promotion. But I'm very, very happy with the season. To be honest with you, there was stages, especially at the start of the season, where I didn't know what was going to happen with the team, how it was going to perform, how it was going to get on. And let's be honest, we didn't look like it was going to be a good season for Bolton. But all things told, it was a pretty decent season. We got some decent players in on frees. I believe there's some money to be made. We nearly did sell Pinto for, I think it was like 20 million or 15 million, which would have actually cleared the debt. So I believe moving forward, this squad has improved enough now to maybe be at the stage where next season we should be pushing even more. I think if you look at our end run towards the back end of the season, we would have got playoffs if it weren't for such a terrible start and players bedding in. Now we've got a little bit more of a set team. There's some extremely good talent here. I'm excited to see what we could do with the squad. So it makes sense that we did have January, that we look at some of the transfers that were done, but in all honesty, there wasn't really anything done. We did sign an absolute superstar, though. We signed Dino Sikakic. Not a clue. He's Canadian, though. He's a regen. He's already valued at 11.75 free. The guy was free, already valued at 11.75 million. He's got 20 determination with a determined personality, which just screams superstar. He's the right back. He's 6'2" for a right back as well, which this is everything about him. He's fantastic. And I'm so glad we managed to sign him. It does upset me a little bit because we do have Neco Williams and we also have Josh Emmanuel. So right back was actually a position we was really strong in. But as soon as I spotted this guy, I was like, there's no way I can turn him down. We have to sign him. He's had a pretty decent season, to be honest with you, since he signed for the club. He's been very good for us. And he is the future of right back at Bolton, which means we probably will look to move a right back on. I don't know if it's going to be Neco or Josh Emmanuel. It'll be a sad day if Josh does go because he's one of the founding players that we had when we started the save. But I have to concede at some point that one of them has to go because this guy he's destined to be a star. I really do believe that. He's a fantastic player already. He's proven that, and the team is better when he's in the squad. Right, so there's actually not that much to gloss over when we look at the results. If we're being 100% honest, you guys obviously can see that we've had some very good results in there. We did change the tactic a little bit. I will go through that briefly. I think we've hit the stage in the save now where we're not going to go over the tactic every time, but I will briefly brush over the tactic that we used. Now, the last time, well, actually, in this full period, this has been great to play. Yes, I've really enjoyed this. It's been a long time since we lost. We only lost once in this entire run-in, this entire back-end run-in. Against Stoke in the league, that is. And we lost to Chelsea 2-0 in the FA Cup, so you know what I mean. It is what it is. We did actually beat Liverpool 1-0. It was a complete and utter fluke. I don't know how we managed it. We seemed to get really up for the games against the big teams in the FA Cup. We actually played okay against Chelsea. There were a couple of good chances, but it wasn't to be. And to be honest with you, I wasn't that fussed because at this stage I was thinking, playoffs, we can actually reach the playoffs. We can achieve it. There's some extremely good teams in this league. There were some games that were a little bit frustrating, especially towards the back end of the season, the Charlton game and the Blackpool game, because because both teams were having poor seasons, and I felt like we were good enough to get wins there, but I can't complain. If you look at the front end of the season, we had a full month here without a win. You know, we had some terrible patchy form. From this stage onward, since the 9th, we only lost once in the league. How do you get upset about this? This is unbelievable form, and I'm really, 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 really happy about the way the team performed. Now, we need to play like this next season. We know from experience that towards the back end of seasons, we tend to play well. We know that has been a common theme in this Bolton save, but we need to do this for an entire season. I genuinely think if we'd have performed on this level for the entire season, well, we would have done. We would have finished in the top 2, which would have been amazing, getting the Premiership money. I have no idea how this team would perform in the Premiership, and roughly usually you get about 30 to 40 million as a promoted side. I don't know if we'd get that with Bolton though, considering that, you know, they're in so much debt. So I don't know if the board would actually give us the usual amount of money you get when you get promoted. So that is a little bit of a worry, and there's no way, shape or form that this team would do well in the Premiership, so we probably would be having a relegation season next year. But although I think if we can bring in 1 or 2 players, especially we need to firm up top. Firm up. That doesn't sound right, and it looks like I'm grabbing. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's brush over that. We need to shore things up top. Got it right that time. We need to shore things up top because Camilino and Ryan Edmondson, as you guys know, are both on loan. We don't actually have another striker. We're pretty poor up top, and we're quite decent all around the rest of the pitch. So my main focus in this offseason is bringing those players back, if we can do on loan. Camilino actually had an unbelievable standout season. He's from Man United as well, but he's a wonder kid. He's a Brazilian, and let's just look at him. He was fantastic this year. So as you can see, the man is an absolute beast in terms of scoring goals. Now, we have this conversation before, and I think a lot of people read into finishing on this game and see 9 finishing and think, there's no way this guy's a striker. He's not good enough at getting goals. But it's proven that maybe technique, composure, and stuff like that is more important than the actual finishing and his ability to get into positions with his off the ball of 16, because he scored 22 goals this season with 6 assists, had an average rating of 7.25. He's been absolutely brilliant. Now, the worry is he's been that good, he could get poached by somebody else, or Man United quite simply might want to use him next season. I certainly don't think he's at their level, so I'm not sure that they do want to keep him. He's still, for me, a championship level player, so that's making me believe that we will get him back next season, and if we do, that's one problem solved up top, and we only need to sign one more striker. I'm not sure about bringing Jacob Ramsey back or any of the other loans that we've got. I think the only players I really want to bring back at this stage are Camilino and Ryan Edmondson, and maybe sign 1 or 2 free transfers. A lot of this is going to be dependent on the commercial summary and how much money comes into the club, and also a lot of it's going to depend on players that move out of the club. We are at a stage now where we have some very good players, so maybe just 1 or 2 sales would actually make the team, well, not the team, but the budget more than good enough for us to bring in the players we need to push on to promotion. But we have had struggles getting rid of players in the past. I did try selling Van der Berg in the window. Nobody wanted him. I tried selling Diego Brass in the window. Nobody wanted him, although it was a good idea that nobody wanted him because he ended up having a fantastic back end of the season. When we moved to the new tactic where we were countering a lot, Diego Brass just found form, and he had a very, very good back end of the season that wasn't going well for him towards the start. So I'm more than happy to keep him around, to be honest with you, unless somebody meets our valuation of probably about £10 million, which is highly unlikely. For me personally, if we can just lose one player, and I really don't want it to be Pinto because he's been a rock at the back this season, but the chances are the player they want will be Pinto. He has been highly touted before. He's had a brilliant season again. I can't remember the team that came in for him, but they did offer us, I think it was 15 million in excess up to about 20 million, and he actually turned down the move. I accepted it. It was too good to not accept. At this stage, I didn't have any belief that we could even get playoffs. I thought mid-table again. Let's reassure the budget. 15 million to 20 million is pretty much paying off the debt that we've got, and the club can really start to restructure and move forward. He decided not to go and ended up having a brilliant back end of the season. Now, we do have some decent centre-backs. We're not short in that position, but this guy really is a special talent, especially at this level. He's a Premiership player, in my opinion. So losing him would be a massive dent to the back line, but a sale of just one player and then having enough budget and enough finances to cover the next 2 seasons easy with the debt. That's really big for this club. It would be huge. So as much as I don't want to lose him, I am in the mindset that we may have to. As for the rest of the squad, it's been a very good season when you think of it at the grand scheme of things. This is a pretty settled, solid lineup. Canella actually ended up having a brilliant back end of the season, and my worries about him not being that great technically don't seem to be an issue in this league. He actually performed very well, in the end getting 8 goals and 5 assists. He's now worth 9 million. There's some money in the squad. There's some money in the starting lineup. There's some expensive players there, and there's some players that maybe will move on for really good fees, which will definitely help the budget because the finances at the moment aren't looking fantastic. One that I would actually be really interested in moving on, although he's been here since the start, would be Politic, because he hasn't been the same this year, and if anything, he seems to not being able to keep up with the pace and actually the level of competition. I think he's probably better at a low-end championship side, or maybe even potentially back to League One football. We'll see what decisions made in pre-season. I'm looking forward to doing it. Let's get into the end of season stuff and go through the finances and how we're looking. It's a little bit red when we look at the finances. As you can see, we are back in the red, but considering the season we had and the fact that we were under the 5 million mark where we want to be realistically, I don't think this is that bad because we paid out massively in wages this season compared to last. Now, some players are going to go off the books. We're also going to have a situation now where some players move on for big money, and this shouldn't be an issue moving forward. This is the first time we've been in the red, and I haven't actually worried because we're going to make money now because it's the end of the season. We're going to get all the end of the season financial stuff through, and we're also going to make some money now in the summer with a couple of player sales, which should see the club in a very good financial position. So I'm actually not worried about being in the red. I genuinely aren't for once. The only part that worried me about being in the red was work within the wage budget, which apparently we've achieved. We're definitely over, but we're actually over by like 18k, but apparently we've achieved that. The board like me that much that, yeah, they're saying we've achieved it. We haven't achieved it, not by any stretch of the imagination, but that was what was worrying. That was really, really worrying for me, but it's not a problem. Apparently, the board are cool with it, so I think they understand where we're at as well with actual money that we've got in the team. We don't want to look like we're a team that needs the cash at the moment, do we? We want correct fees for players. So guys, this is the tactic that we used to finish off the season. We used it in a variation of cautious and attacking. It's a custom fluid counter-attack. My whole mindset, there's a few individual player instructions, mainly on Besic. My whole mindset in this was to get the ball out as quick as possible to the wings and counter as quick as possible while not being sloppy on the ball. And in the most part, this worked. This was the tactic that saw us on this end run. It's probably the tactic we're going to move forward with into next season. And this is probably the tactic that best suits the personnel and the playing squad we have at the moment. Right, guys, so it's time for the end of season stuff. I always love this stuff. Camilino got player of the season, which is no surprise, but Ryan Edmondson was still up there, and you have Pinto in the list as well. Levitt got the goal of the season. Sakic got the signing of the season, which is no surprise. And young player of the season is Camilino. Now, Camilino's having a brilliant time at Bolton. I'll show you on the screen now how happy he is playing at Bolton, and that genuinely makes me believe that he wants to make the move back to Bolton. It's not that far from Manchester, and enjoy some more football here next season, where hopefully he can keep destroying the league with the goals he's scoring more than anything. Very impressive. The board actually as well have set the initial budgets. Now this is probably why we're working within the wage budget, because it was 220 before per week. Now it's 240. So it gives us 20k to play with roughly in the wage budget. Obviously we've got no transfer budget, completely expected. I don't expect to have any transfer budget unless there's some big sales. We kind of knew that coming in. It will be free transfers I'll look at as per usual once again and try and find some gems that we can polish up and either sell them on for a ton of money or they can lead us to the Premiership. That's going to be the mindset, I think. Right, guys, so that's going to be it for this episode of Bringing Back Bolton. I hope you're enjoying the series. I know I am. I'm going to go off now and play pre-season at my leisure. I'm going to look at bringing a team together that can challenge next year for the Championship. Yes, that's right. I'm going to look at trying to challenge for the Championship. As you can see there, we scored 72 goals this season. That was the 4th highest, and conceded 60, so that wasn't great. We did concede far too many goals. But we do have a little bit of a budget for next season on the wages. I can look at free transfers again, which is what we've been doing. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope you've all enjoyed it. I hope you're all enjoying the content. If you haven't subscribed, please smash that subscribe button. It means a lot. I will see you in the next episode of Bringing Back Bolton. If you haven't checked out the 20 save, why haven't you? Go give it a watch. And I'll see you all later. Stay safe, guys.